A train has derailed and crashed into makeshift homes in the Kenyan capital, Nairobi. It came off the tracks in Nairobi's sprawling Kibera slum, which is home to 250,000 people. Scores of people are feared to be trapped in the wreckage. Let's go to Rawya, who's at the scene of the crash. Rawya, just describe what you're seeing and tell us how the rescue operation is going.
Well, surely what we're seeing is a very slow process of trying to essentially lift those wagons that had flipped over the railway track. I can tell you that by the looks of it, this is an operation that would take hours and hours, probably the entire day. The commanding police officer at the scene tells me that this was a train made up of 22 wagons carrying wheat. It was en route to Uganda. The cargo was very heavy. He says that there were 2 engines, one at the front pulling and one at the back pushing. But it appears that when it reached this point here where the crash happened, witnesses were telling us that it was very evident that the train was wiggling and then suddenly it went off the tracks. Now, what's going on now is that essentially when the car slipped over, it also mangled the railway tracks underneath, and the police, and rather the workers, are trying to fix those railway tracks to be able to bring in a crane to lift off those 2 wagons and see if there are people trapped underneath. It's still not clear whether there are people underneath, but the homes, the proximity of the homes to the scene of the crash, it's very evident that that's complicating the issue. So far, 6 people have been brought from underneath the wreckage, brought out with cuts, bruises, and fractures. The medical workers tell us they are in a stable condition. The people at the scene are saying it took an entire hour for rescue workers to be able to access the scene, Shuli.
Yeah, and the place where it crashed, as you say, this is one of the biggest slums in the world, and the government had been trying to warn people against building their homes right up against the rail tracks.
Yes, Shuli, the Minister of Transport had visited the scene shortly after the accident happened, and he told reporters here that the government had been pleading with people for a long time not to have their makeshift homes, these tin roof encampments really so close to the railway network. But this is a massive slum, Shuli. There's just abject poverty everywhere, and you don't get the sense that people here, people telling me they don't exactly have a choice to live where they live. One of the people I spoke to said he actually had been planning to move his house away, that he'd been living here for 6 months. He'd been trying to, but he was trying to get things in order, and it was his house that were one of the houses that got crushed by the accident here. There's a lot of tension you could feel here as police are pushing people away, cordoning off the area. There's a potential for tension to flare up any moment because the people don't want these rescue operations to affect their homes. If they flip up the wagons, that this might actually bring down more of these tin roof homes. So you could sense the tension very much in the air here, Shuli.
OK, Rawya, thanks for that. Rawya Rageh updating us from the scene of that train crash in Nairobi.